And then I came across a newspaper article, and I actually still have it. I've got it right here. I kept it. This was what got me started on the ancient Hebrew. You might have seen this on my website, or at least a color picture of this. This is the Temple of Yahweh Ostraca, and it was found it was in 1997, and it mentions the Temple of Yahweh. And I saw that script, and I said, that's not the Hebrew I'm learning. What is this? And so I got really interested in the ancient Hebrew script, which kind of led me on a journey to where we're at here today. There was a story about 3 blind men who were walking along a trail. And they all came up to the same object, and they started feeling around to see what this thing was in the middle of their path. One of them yelled out, "It's a rope." Another one said, "No, it's a tree trunk." Another one said, "No, it's a snake." Okay, how in the world can 3 people come to the same object, see or feel 3 different things? What was it they came across? Any ideas? Any guesses? An elephant. You might have heard the story before. Yeah, it was an elephant. They were feeling different parts of it. And that's what we are as English, Greco-Roman, Western thinkers. We're approaching the biblical text from the wrong perspective. We're blind men trying to feel our way through the text, trying to understand it. That's why we have so many different ways of understanding the Scriptures. Bottom line is you got to get back to the Hebrew. You got to understand the culture, the mindset of the people who wrote the text. You can't pick up the Bible and read it like a Sunday newspaper. It doesn't work. Just to give you an idea of how things get mixed up over time, if I go like this, what does that mean? Good. If you said to me, how was the camping trip? Hey, it was great. Now, if I went like that, what does that mean? Bad. Terrible time. Pretty bad. Where does that come from? The Roman gladiators. If the Caesar was up, one of the gladiators got the man on the ground. He's standing over his body. He looks up at Caesar, and Caesar goes like this. And he looks at him, and if he goes like that, what does it mean? Life. Wrong. It means death. It means to the throat. If he goes like that, what does it mean? He lives. Throw your sword to the ground. What happened? What happened? 2,000 years have gone by, and this got turned to this, and this got turned to this. It got all mixed up. And we'll see a few examples in the Hebrew how exactly that same thing has happened in the Hebrew language when we're reading the Bible backwards in some cases. And also to give you an example of how sometimes translations can get mixed up. Anybody here familiar with the story of Cinderella? And what kind of slippers did she have? Glass. No. Originally it was not glass. It's a Russian story. It was originally written in Russia, but the Russian word was translated later into French. The Frenchman found the Cinderella story, liked it, translated it into French, and he translated that word as verre. Now the word verre can either be glass, but spelled V-A-I-R-E, or it can be fur, V-A-R-E. They sound the same, but they're 2 different words. Originally in the Russian story, it was Cinderella's fur slippers. The Frenchman made a mistake, and he translated as glass slippers. Now we got this gal trying to run around in glass. Can you imagine wearing glass shoes? So there was an error made in that translation, which caused to us now having the Walt Disney picture with Cinderella with the glass slipper. These type of things happen all the time in the biblical texts. Okay, the most crucial ingredient to communication is using common understanding of words. If we are talking here, you're familiar with my speech, I'm familiar with your speech, we can communicate. I used to live on the West Coast in California. I moved to Pennsylvania Dutch country. Oh boy, you talk about a culture shock. There were times literally where I had no idea what the other people were talking about. We had conversations and I was all mixed up, he was all mixed up, we couldn't understand each other. This is one simple example. I was in the drive-thru at McDonald's, and she goes, "Here's your drink a while." Here's your drink a while. Well, what the heck does that mean? Anybody here know what that meant? I had no clue. I started hearing that word a lot. People say, here, do this a while. I finally went to a friend of mine and says, hey, what does this mean? He says, oh, while you're not doing anything. I go, oh, now that makes sense. It means while you're not doing anything. A while. Okay, but I didn't know. I couldn't understand. The biblical text was originally written in Hebrew by Hebrews in a Hebraic culture. If we try and read the Bible from an American or a modern Western culture, you're going to get things mixed up. Something's not going to click right. We may think we're understanding it, but in fact we're not. Of. The Hebrew word of. How many people recognize that word there? I think probably a lot of us have. Okay, what does of mean? Father. Abba is actually an Aramaic word borrowed by Hebrew later. By the 1st century, Yeshua's time, it did become a Hebrew word, but originally Abba was the Aramaic form of this word. But look at the letters there, up at the top, the Aleph and the Beit. And what script is being written there? Modern Hebrew. Right, it's modern Hebrew, but it's not really even Hebrew. The origin of that script is Aramaic. When Israel was taken into Babylonian captivity, they adopted the Aramaic square script because it was easier to write. That, my friends, is Aramaic. It's not Hebrew. The definition of that word is father, right? That's Greek. Father is an abstract concept. It's a Greek concept. It's not biblical Hebrew. So let me ask you this. If we have Aramaic script, Greek definition, where's the Hebrew? There's no Hebrew up there. Huh? It's not in the letters. Those letters are Aramaic. The letters are Aramaic. The definition is Greek. That's pictographic Hebrew. That's the way Hebrew was originally written. Pictographs, like hieroglyphs. Can you see a picture there? Hebrew is very picture-oriented, action-oriented, picture-oriented. Everything in Hebrew should be understood as an action that you could draw a picture of. The first letter is the Aleph. It's a picture of an ox head. The second letter is the Bet, a picture of a tent. That's Hebrew. Now, what does that word mean? Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about this word itself, but just very easily, the ox represents strength. The Bet is a picture of a tent, and it represents the tent or the family.